Hi everybody. Boy, this has been an adventure, I tell you what. We've been trying to do some live feeds, but we can't get it to work. We have sound problems. So we might have to get a mic for me or do something else, I don't know. We might have to go to just taping them and putting them on at 1 o'clock. So it won't be live, but it'll be done new every day. So it'll be all fresh. The feedback I got from some of my people who were new to cards and new to bridge, but they really were new to cards as well, is that they wanted a little bit more information about when they were playing the hand. They got online, they played some of those hands on that website I told you about, but they weren't taking a lot of tricks, and they were having a little bit of problem figuring out how to do that. So what I thought I would do today, as soon as we get ready, is to do some things with the cards that show you some of the techniques, the ways that people who have played bridge have discovered to help them win some tricks, win more tricks. So that's what we're going to be doing. I also thought I'd give y'all just a few minutes to get online in case you're not here already before we get started. So I hope you've been having fun. I hope you've practiced some. Have you been playing a little bit online? Have you been dealing the cards out and counting your points, figuring out what suits you would like to have as trumps? Remember, excuse me, remember yesterday we talked about, how you might want to play with either hearts or spades as trumps instead of diamonds or clubs. That whole thing about getting more points for every hand you play. That's always a good strategy. We always want to get the most points we can get for every hand. If you remember, there was a big bonus if you decided to try and bid higher. And if you stayed low, even though you probably took the number of tricks you said you were going to take, your score wasn't as big, right? So it's all kind of a give and take. You have to decide. Are you going to go for it, or are you just going to be safe and get some points? We always like to get some points. Okay, well, I think it's just about time for us to start. The first thing I thought I would talk about is something that bridge players call a finesse. The idea in a finesse is that you want to win a trick with a card that's not the highest card left. So for instance, I gave you an example here, and what I'd like you to do, if you have your deck of cards with you, which I hope you do, it's hard to show you things about bridge without actually having cards, just get out the heart suit. Remember there's 13 of them, and just pull all the hearts out of your deck. I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. And you can put the rest of them to the side. We don't want to look at those right now. What we're going to do is lay out what we call a card combination. What that is if you have a certain number of cards, a certain specific cards in one hand, and specific cards in another hand, how can you play those cards, if you're the declarer, in order to win more tricks? Something we always want to do. Okay, you got your hearts out? Okay. So this card combination is the ace and the queen in the north hand, and the 8 and the 4 in the south hand. Now I've got my cards laid out here. You may not be able to see those too well, but hopefully you can lay them out at your table, and then you can follow along as we talk. So if we have 4 cards in this suit, that means the opponents still have 9 cards, and those 9 cards are split between the east and west hand. Okay? So those are the cards that are left. The king, the jack, the 10, that T is a 10. The 9, the 7, the 6, the 5, the 3, and the 2. All of those are left. Now, our job, what we'd like to do is win 2 heart tricks. So it shouldn't be too hard, should it? That ace is definitely a winner. We know we can win 1, but we'd like to win a trick with our queen as well. So how can we play the cards in order to win a trick with that queen? The cards could be split. Do you think that all 9 of them are going to be in just one hand? I don't think so either. That's very unlikely for someone to have 9 hearts. Okay? So if we played a little heart and we played our ace, then the only way that we could win 2 tricks is if the king was all by itself. And that would mean 8 cards were in the other hand. Do you think that's very likely? Do you think someone is going to hold 8 hearts and the king's not going to be with them, and someone else is going to have only 1 and it's just the king? Yeah, that's not very likely at all. You know, that would look like this, right? Wow. And it would have to be that East was the one that had just the king. If West had just the king, when we played the 4, we'd see it. So if we were north-south, and we were in the north hand, and we led the ace of hearts, the only way that we could win 2 tricks is if either East or West had just the king left in their hand. Not a very likely scenario. Not likely that that will happen. And if we led from the south hand and led the 4 and played the ace, well, we'd still win a trick with the queen if East had only the king. And that's not very likely. It's pretty likely that 5 of the hearts would be in the East hand and 4 in the West, or vice versa. The suit would probably be 4 in one hand, 5 in the other. So I'm going to take the 2, the 3, and the 5 and put them over there with the king. Now what do you think? Is there any way we can win a trick with the queen? Well, if you have a really nice opponent, you could lead the 4, and it could go low, and you would play the queen, and they don't win the trick. But I don't play against any people that are nice like that. They don't do sweet things like that for me. I play that queen. They put that king on top of it so fast your head would spin. So what can we do? Let's see. Well, let's move the king over to the West hand. And let's give West the king, the 9, the 7, and the 6. And that will leave East with the Jack, the 10, the 5, the 3, and the 2. Can anybody see how we might win 2 tricks if the cards are that way? What do you think? Okay, here we go. What if I lead the 4 of hearts, and then West can see that ace, can he? So he won't play his king, will he? That would be kind of silly. He knows if he plays his king that the ace would win, because that north hand is in the dummy hand. It's face up on the table, right? So he would play the 6. If I play the ace, I'll win, but hey, I'm just going to lose later, right? Because I'll have the queen, he'll still have the king. But what if I play the 4, he plays the 6, and I play the queen? Well, East doesn't have a card higher than the queen, do they? They'll play the 2, so my queen will win. That's a finesse. I let a low card towards my bigger cards, and when my left-hand opponent, when West played a small card, instead of playing my biggest one, I played my next one, the queen, hoping that the king was in the West hand. And since it was, I won 2 tricks. So winning a trick with a smaller card, because the higher card was in the West hand, that was a finesse. a successful finesse because I won 2 tricks. Okay? Got that one? Anybody, if you have some questions about it, you can always send me an email or post on my website and I can look it up for you. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's create a trick. This one is called playing the high card from the hand that has the shortest number of cards first. So let's see how that works. Now in this particular hand, the cards we want to look at are the diamond suit, but it could just as easily be the diamond suit. Other way around. We can do it with hearts as well. So we're going to put the king, the queen, the jack, the 9, and the 5 of hearts in the north hand. King, the queen, the jack, the 9, and the 5. And we're going to put the big ace and the little 8 in the south hand. So between our 2 hands, we have the ace, the king, the queen, the jack, the 9, and the 5. And we could win 5 tricks probably because we have 4 of the top ones. But look what happens if we play the 8 the first time. Try that. If you play the 8 the first time, then you have to play your king or your queen or your jack to win. Yes? And now, when you play your 5 and win your ace, well, your queen, your jack, and your 9 are winners, right? But which hand is on lead? The hand that's on lead is the south hand, and they don't have any more. So I can't play a card to my queen, my jack, and my 9. I can't lead to those big cards. In the hand I gave you up here, the spades were the 5 and the 4, and we had another 5 and a 4 and a 3 and a 2, so I didn't have any other big cards, right? I had no other big cards anywhere. But look what happens if I play, instead of the 8 the first time, what if I play the big ace? If I play the ace and then play the 5 from dummy, right? Now I can play my 8 to my king. And who is on lead this time? The north hand is on lead, right? And if north is on lead, then I get to take all the rest of my cards in that suit because I can lead the queen, the jack, and the 9. Okay? So that's the way that when you have less cards in the suit in one hand and more in the other hand. So we had 5 in one hand, 2 in another. And we had high cards in both hands. What you want to do is you want to play the high card from the hand that has the fewest number of cards first. So that when you play the rest of your cards, you'll be leading from the hand that has the long cards in the suit. If we play the ace first, and play the 5 under the ace, and then play our 8 to our king, our queen, and our jack, our 9's going to be good, and we were able to lead from the north hand. See how that works? That's almost always right. There's every once in a while, because of other things in the hand, you need to play it a different way. But playing the high card from the hand that has the shortest number first almost always works to help you take more tricks. Okay? All right. Do we want to do one more? This is called establishing a long suit. This is when you don't have all of the high ones. You have most of them. You have some of them. And what you want to do is you want to force your opponent, one of your opponents, to win their ace so that you can win tricks with the rest of your cards. Okay, so the hand I gave you this time, we had the king, the queen, the jack, the 9, and the 5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the 10 and the 8. So one of your opponents has the ace, right? But look at the cards we have. We have the king, the queen, the jack, and the 9. And the 10 and the 8. So on this one, we can play our 10 first. And then play the 5. And then we'll play our 8. And play the 9. And we wanted to be in that the north hand so that we could lead them again if they didn't win that trick. And we're just going to play all the rest of our high cards. Because see, over here I gave you the king of clubs. So we have a way, another high card to get back to that north hand. So that worked out really well. We just led that suit until they had to win the ace. Since we had this other suit over on the side in clubs, the ace, the queen, the 9, and the king, we were able to get back over to this king, queen, and jack. After your 2 were gone, we didn't have any more, did we? We had no more hearts in the south hand, but we could still get over here. Okay? If the only card we had was the 10, what happens if we lead the 10 and we had played the 5? If we lead the 10 and it goes little and we play our 5, well, our 10 won, didn't it? But what happened? Who's on lead? South's on lead, right? If it goes 10 little, and we play the 5 and they don't win their ace, South's on lead and he doesn't have any more cards in that suit to play. Try that out. What would you do next? So instead of playing a low card, instead of playing the 5, when we led the 10, what we needed to do was play our jack. And that seems kind of strange, doesn't it? Playing a card higher than the cards that we had in our hand. Our 10 was just as good as our king, our queen, our jack. But if we didn't, it's called overtake. If we didn't play a card higher than the 10, we were going to be in the wrong hand. We couldn't lead the suit again. So we have to do it that way. Now, if East plays a low card and West plays a low card, we're leading from the north hand so we can keep leading our high ones and force them to win their ace. Sometimes when you first start playing, what you only think about is winning your aces and your kings. You know, you can do those. You know that aces and kings are going to win tricks. And there's a tendency, you know, it's kind of intuitive, you know, you just see it. Oh, I can win these. This is easy. I just can win these and I'll be happy, happy, happy. And you are. You're happy when you win them. But what you have to do is plan ahead in bridge sometimes. Instead of just taking advantage of that one big one you have to figure out ways to take tricks with your smaller cards, the ones that aren't immediate winners, the ones that I call it building tricks. So that's something that you have to consider. That's just 2 ways. I might show you another next time tomorrow. We'll see. I'll see if people liked having some ideas about playing the handout, or if you want to learn some more bidding. Be sure and send me a post on Facebook and let me know which way you want me to go. because of the kind of problems we've been having with the sound and all of that, what I might be doing is taping these ahead of time instead of doing a live feed, just so that I can set things up the way I want and get them posted on time and the lighting be good and the sound be good. We'll see how that goes. But I hope to see you tomorrow at 1. Thanks, y'all.